Hey, welcome back to that 70s card show. I'm your host, John Keating, and I thank you for joining me as I take a look back at the cards and the culture of the very colorful 1970s. We'll revisit a more simple time in our hobby by taking a deep dive into the sets and the stats with a generous amount of dad facts sprinkled in. That 70s card show is currently sponsored by nobody. If you have a comment or suggestion, or you'd like to file an official protest, I urge you to drop me a line at ThatSeventiesCardShow at gmail.com. You can reach me at 70sCard on Twitter or that 70s Card Show on ye old YouTube. So this is episode 48. We are going to talk about the twos and the fros of the 1970, 78, 79 Topps basketball set. So before we dive into that, let's a little talk about last week. Episode 47, had a chance to talk with John Newman. I appreciate John's time and his contributions to our hobby. That was a nice, for every minute we spent on air, we probably spent another minute off air chatting and BSing to each other. So that was pretty fun to talk on and off the air. So thank you, John, for that. I want to tell a quick story about a few weeks ago on a job site that I was participating in. So you may or may not know certain things about what I do for a living. I work for probably the largest entertainment lighting, video, and audio company in the country. I do a lot of different weird special events, concerts, trade shows. All sorts of weird stuff. And one of the things I do a lot of film work, and I was working on a project for here in Philadelphia, M. Night Shyamalan's current television show. I think it's called The Servant or Servant. And one of the guys that I work with, we've talked quite a bit about collecting. He's younger than I am, deals with NFTs. All that fun stuff, gets it, understands it, unlike me. So anyway, we have that collecting in common. So we're just talking about something, and one of the other guys overhears us talking, and a couple of these guys I've known for probably 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden they start talking about their collections. One guy immediately takes out his phone and starts showing me his 69, 70, 71 Topps cards. The teamster who was on the truck starts talking about cards that he wants to see if he could sell. They were his dad's. And what else happened? There was another guy who that I've known again for 15 years, and it's never come up, but he started talking about all the autographs and memorabilia he has. So anyway, my point being is it's I've become more vocal about my collecting habits to people that I work with and associate with, and it reaps these kinds of spontaneous moments, which are pretty cool. Again, finding commonality with people that you didn't know you had that in common with. So pretty darn cool, if you ask me. We're going to move on here to the 78-79 Topps set, basketball set, and a little framework there for everybody who wasn't there. Most of us who listen to the show probably were, but it's kind of the calm before the storm. 70, 78, 79. Obviously, 79 was the big year in college basketball when the hick from French Lick met Magic Johnson in the NCAA finals at the Huntsman Center in Salt Lake City, one of the most horrible places to work or see a concert, trust me. Hockey was kind of still figuring itself out at that point with mergers. Basketball was beyond their merger at that point. And football was just coming into its own. It was kind of ahead of the curve ahead of basketball and hockey. Football had a spectacular decade in the 70s. And some reports are that it actually overtook baseball in the hearts and minds of Americans in the 70s. I'm not sure about that. I don't agree or disagree, but I preferred baseball at that time. Football, though, man, spectacular between the Steelers finishing up the decade with 4 titles. You had that undefeated Dolphins team. The Cowboys were always in it. Vikings, of course, would do a big 0 for 4 in the Super Bowl, but at least they made the Super Bowl. John Madden would win that Super Bowl in 77, I want to say. So anyway, good times were had by all in the 70s, and then basketball was really getting ready to break out. This is when, Magic and Bird would turn pro, and obviously it would lead to Michael Jordan and David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon and Barkley, and it just goes on and on and on. So good times were on the horizon for basketball in particular. So we're going to talk a little bit about that season first before we dip into our card talk, if you don't mind. Some stuff here. First of all, information gathered for this podcast, I done got off the internet, and Beckett OPG, the Trading Card Database, Wikipedia, Basketball Reference, and Sports Collectors Daily all contributed both visuals and words to this whole thing. I kind of hit copy, paste, print, and away we go. So the 78-79 NBA season was the 33rd season of the National Basketball Association. Think about that. We're at 75 right now, huh? You do the math, guys. The season ended with the Seattle Supersonics winning the NBA championship, beating the Washington Bullets 4-1 in the NBA Finals, which was a rematch of the previous year's finals, but with the opposite results. That Sonics team, I believe, coached by Lenny Wilkins, or at least he was on the team. But the Bullets were a pretty beefy team there between Elvin Hayes and Wes Unseld. So, anyway, a couple things that happened during the season that are wacky. The Buffalo Braves moved from Buffalo, New York to San Diego, California, and became the San Diego Clippers, shifting from the Atlantic Division of the Eastern Conference to the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. And the Detroit Pistons also changed conferences, moving from the Midwest Division of the Western Conference to the Central Division of the Eastern Conference. Washington Bullets shifted from the Central Division to the Atlantic Division, and the franchise also won its last division title until the 2016-2017 season. The NBA adopted a 3-official system similar to the one used in college basketball, but not used in the NCAA Division I basketball tournament until 1979. On a 1-year trial basis. The experiment was scrapped for the 79-80 season, but returned permanently in 88-89 season. The 1979 All-Star Game was played at the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, with the West defeating the East 134-29 in overtime. David Thompson of the Denver Nuggets won the game's MVP award. I almost said Denver Nubbins. The Jazz played their final season in New Orleans, Louisiana, before moving to Salt Lake City. It would be 23 years before the New Orleans would receive another NBA franchise. The Los Angeles Lakers played their final season under the ownership of Jack Kent Cooke. And if we'll pause there for a second, there was a book a few years back called Showtime about the Los Angeles Lakers in the 80s. That was kind of turned into a semi-biographical movie, which is playing right now by the great Adam McKay, directed it. It's called Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. Now, Adam McKay is probably one of the most brilliant directors working today. If you look at his body of work, it includes Step Brothers and The Big Short. So who else has done 2 movies like that in their career? And what I loved about The Big Short was he explained some very difficult things to some very simple-minded people like myself in a non-technical yet appealing manner. So Adam McKay, wonderful, wonderful director, and my wife and I are watching this movie right now, this TV series, and it's pretty cool. Anything my wife likes to watch regarding sports is A-okay with me, and she we just finished up Formula One, Drive to Survive. We finished that up last week, and it's interesting watching sports with somebody who has no sporting passion at all, but she really enjoys these shows for some reason. So anyway, let's get back to the 70s, shall we? For the last time until 2018, both conference finals went to a deciding Game 7. All right, the Philadelphia 76ers, this is one where you should probably check your diaper, because this is a very interesting story right here. So the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Nets replayed on March 23rd the last 17 minutes and 50 seconds of a November 8th game that had been protested by the Nets because the referee had allowed 3 technical fouls and subsequent free throws to be called on Nets coach Kevin Lockery and player Bernard King. Before the replay took place, however, the Sixers and the Nets had traded players, and Eric Money became the only NBA player to score for both teams in the same game, having 23 points for the Nets in November and 4 for the 76ers in March. Unpack that. I'm going to move on, but that's a pretty interesting fact. I know that something similar to that happened in the, I want to say 80s, when a player was traded. Player was traded in the middle of a doubleheader, Phillies and Cubs or Phillies and Mets, but still, it's a pretty cool thing. All right, so the Seattle Supersonics won their first NBA championship in a revenge win over the Washington Bullets. No team from the NBA's Northwest Division, to which the Sonics relocated in 2004, has won the NBA championship since. This is the longest divisional championship drought in any of the major American League sports leagues by 27 years. The 79 NBA Finals would be the last until 1990 not to feature the Los Angeles Lakers or Boston Celtics. Since 1979, the Washington Bullets franchise, who appeared in 4 NBA Finals between 71 and 79, have never made it again to the NBA Finals or even conference finals. The Sonics would challenge the NBA for the title. Those Sonics would challenge for the NBA title again in 1996, but relocated to Oklahoma City in 2008. Therefore, the 1979 title will remain the only City of Seattle NBA championship unless it receives another franchise. Man, a lot happened there. So again, the one of those nuggets in there was the fact that it was the last year until 1990 that didn't feature the Lakers or the Celtics in the NBA championships. Now, those of you reading from afar who don't need glasses might think of that's pretty boring, the decade of the 80s, but I think that's one of the things that made it exciting, that rivalry between them and the rivalries between Houston and the Lakers and Boston and Philadelphia. There was a lot of good basketball being played back in the olden days. So there were some coaching changes. The Braves/Clippers had fired Cotton Fitzsimmons and hired Gene Shue. The Bulls had fired Ed Badger, and they brought in 2 guys, Larry Costello and Scotty Robertson, to finish out the season. Detroit Pistons would fire Bob Kaufman, yet hire Dick Vitale. We all know how that worked out. And the Kansas City Kings fired Larry Staverman and hired Cotton Fitzsimmons. Cotton Fitzsimmons will reappear later on in this episode. So in-season coaching changes. Celtics brought on Dave Cowens. Bulls brought on Scotty Robertson. Again, I talked about that. Denver Nuggets fired Larry Brown and brought on Donnie Walsh. And the New York Knicks axed Willis Reed and brought back Red Holzman. Coaching changes, that was that. Now, your standings in the 78-79 season, Washington Bullets won the Atlantic Division with the Sixers and the Nets qualifying for the playoffs. The Sixers were 7 games back. The Nets were 17 games back, and the Knicks 23, and the Boston Celtics 25. Boston went through a pretty rough period before Larry Legend showed up for sure. In the Central Division, the San Antonio Spurs eked out a one-game divisional title over the Houston Rockets and 2 games over the Atlanta Hawks. Both would qualify for the playoffs. Regardless, Cleveland Cavaliers and the Detroit Pistons were 18 games back, and the New Orleans Jazz 22 back in their final year in Nolens. Midwest Division, the Kansas City Kings, 1 game separated them and the playoff-bound Denver Nuggets. And the Pacers and the Bucks 10 games back, with the Bulls 17 games back. Pacific Division, Seattle Supersonics won 2 games over the Phoenix Suns, 5 games over the Lakers, 7 games over the Blazers, with those teams all making the playoffs, and the Clippers and Warriors trailing by 9 and 14 games, respectively. So the playoffs looks like Atlanta beat Houston. Looks like Philadelphia beat Jersey. Lakers beat Denver. And Phoenix beat Portland in the first round. There were some byes there. So Kansas City, Seattle, San Antonio, and Washington had byes. Washington would beat Atlanta. San Antonio would beat the Sixers. The Sonics would beat the Lakers. The Suns would beat the Kansas City Braves, I think that was. Kansas City Kings. Somebody help me. Kansas City Kings. That's what we're going to go with. Right. All right. So in the conference finals, again, 7 games each. Washington over San Antonio 4-3, and Seattle over Phoenix 4-3, and a 4-1 victory again for the Seattle Supersonics. Hey, look right here. Cotton Fitzsimmons won Coach of the Year that year for the Kansas City Kings. And the league champion, of course, the Sonics, Supersonics back then. Most valuable player was Moses Malone, 24.8 points, 17.6 rebounds, and I guess that's 1.8 assists. Rookie of the year was Phil Ford for the Kansas City Kings, 15.9, 2.3 boards, and 8.6 assists. Points per game leader, George Iceman Gervin, 29.6. Rebounds per game, Moses Malone, 17.6. Assists per game, Kevin Porter, 13.4. Your all-NBA first team was Paul Westphal of the Suns, George Gervin of the Spurs, Moses Malone of the Rockets, and Marquise Johnson of the Milwaukee Bucks, and Elvin Hayes of the Washington Bullets. Second team was Walter Davis, Phoenix Suns, Bob Dandridge of the Bullets, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of the Lakers, Lloyd Free of the San Diego Clippers, and Phil Ford of the Kansas City Kings. And NBA rookie team, Michael Thompson, Portland Trail Blazers. He's the father, the baby daddy of Klay Thompson. Gentleman named Terry Tyler of the Pistons, Ron Brewer of the Portland Trail Blazers, Reggie Theus and his awesome hair of the Chicago Bulls, and again, rookie of the year, Phil Ford, Kansas City Kings. I'm not sure you want to hear about the NBA all-defensive team, so you guys can find that on your own if you want. So let's move on to the basketball cards, shall we? So what do we have here? Let's see here. I've got a stack of the 78, 79 right here. I probably have about third to half the set, maybe half the set right here in my hand. So we'll show a little that on screen if you don't mind, and we'll go over some facts. 78, 79 Topps Basketball was a series of 132 cards, all released at once into the wild. Wax packs. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the wax packs. The wax packs came 10 cards to a pack, 20 cents per pack. Wax packs were also available in what they call a wax rack or something like that, which was 3 packs, 3 to 20 cent packs that he would knock off a nickel, 55 cents. I think most would sell that. Kmart, I think, was the big seller of those cards. Not only did you get 3 20-cent packs, but you also got 3 sticks of bubble gum with those. So yeah, that's that. Wax boxes were, again, 20 cents a pack, but wax box, 36 packs per box. There's some jacked up boxes on the screen right now. Of course, we had vending cases, and which that picture cards generic printing on the outside was used for any of the sports. It didn't matter, and it was used for many, many, many years. That one's from 78 right there, basketball. There is also pictured on the screen a wax case right there, which was 16 boxes, wax boxes per case. No factory sets, one series. There was a league license, a player's license, no inserts, standard 2.5 by 3.5 size cards, 18 rookie cards, and a whopping 37 Hall of Famers in that set, which was pretty cool. There's a spec sheet or sell sheet here I'm going to bring up on the screen that would be given to the vendors. I'm going to read a couple of those highlights right now. Beautiful, beautiful shot of somebody going in for somebody from the Washington Bullets going up against the Seattle Supersonics. So 78 Topps basketball picture cards, all new exciting series with kids' favorite NBA players in every package. More thrilling action scenes of popular players, fast-selling superstar card series that is so easy to collect. 36 20-cent packs per display box, Topps number 388-78. I think that's right. And a high fan interest right through the winter months because, as we know from our history, that baseball cards didn't carry through the winter at that point. And at the bottom of that, you could fill out store name, address, city, state, zip, authorized signature. Don't do any unauthorized signatures there, but please fill out and return this special order sheet to Topps. And you could write in how many 36 count boxes of Topps 20 set 1978 basketball bubblegum picture card you want. Again, SKU number is 388-78. Give it a whirl, folks. It might not be too late to do that. What else we got here? Let's talk about the front of the basketball cards here, huh? So interesting design, white borders. White is the predominant color. There is on the left side running from bottom to top, turned sideways, some script. The Kansas City Kings here on the Lucius Allen card. So Kings is the predominant thing we see. And tiny little banner there between Kansas City and Kings, and then the player's name written in a separate color just to the inside of the city name. So we have our city name, we have our team name, we have our player name. Big player picture dominates the card in action shots, all followed by a lower right and inset circle with a player probably half and half portrait studio type shots or bench type shots. Either way, it's not an action shot, static shot of the player. And in the very bottom right-hand corner on top of the white border is an abbreviated position. Sometimes it says C-F or G-F or GRD. Lucius Allen has a guard, so he has a GRD. Dave Cowens has center designation, so he is CTR. Again, shots, so you can see Dave Cowens is jammed up with several defenders, and it looks like one of his own players is getting in on the action. So, listen, if you can't handle it, these shorts are pretty high in this entire set, so just be careful in mixed company or at work if you whip out any of these cards. Alternative fronts are for the All-Stars. So the wonderful, heroic Julius Irving, first team All-Star, there's a designation between his picture and on the bottom of his card, between his headshot and what would be his name there. First team All-Star. Also, Walter Davis is depicted as a second team All-Star. So these are the only deviations, these first team and second team All-Star designations on these cards that you will see in this set. So no player signature, unfortunately. Don't know why. That wasn't very popular in basketball at the time, I guess. All these photos are portrait style. There's no landscape photos in this set, no multiplayer photo set unless they're depicted in action. No subsets other than the first and second team all-stars. So we don't have any league leaders. We don't have any team cards. We don't have any highlights, playoffs, anything like that. We are down and dirty, 132 players. In fact, it was written somewhere that if you bought a 36-pack box of these cards, you probably get well into a third set of the cards. So at least 2 sets in every wax box, which is pretty cool. Back of the card. Shall we talk about the back of the card now? It's 1977, 78. What does this remind you of? It reminds me of the 78 baseball, kind of the brown and orange. I guess baseball had a more bluish back, but predominantly orange though as well. We have a number in the upper left-hand corner inside of a basketball. That is a card number, not a player number, and every card has the same little cartoonish basketball players throwing the basketball up in the air with the card number on it. All caps, player's name, kind of what they're known as. There's no formalization of these names. Let's see here. Date of birth is on there. The hometown or where they were born is on there, which I love. Their home is on there as well. Height, weight, how they were acquired, the college they attended, except for at least 2 folks, Darryl Dawkins and Moses Malone, or their high school is listed instead of college on the back of the card. And it has how they were acquired. If they were drafted, it will tell you when. And if they were traded or purchased subsequently, it will also tell you that. There's a brief bio for most players. Obviously, Rick Barry does not have one because his career was so long. So Wes Unseld has a quick bio. It says one of the NBA's fine rebounders. I can't talk today. One of the NBA's fine rebounders. No one sets a better pick. So you were warned, folks. Now, one thing I found interesting about these cards, now these cards will list the ABA and the NBA stats. Also, military service will show up, which is something we saw a lot on baseball cards in the 60s and early 70s. Military service shows up, and even more fun is that the old ABA players have an additional column stat line for three-point shots made. Rick Barry is... his ABA three-pointers are recorded. There are just essentially dots or hyphens for any of these NBA activity because they didn't have the three-point at that point. Wes Unseld never played in the ABA, therefore he does not have a three-point column on the back of his card. Year-to-year stats and career stats are all there. My dog's barking upstairs. And underneath we have some star stats for the players. Of course, this is focused just on how great the player is. Wes's highest scoring NBA game was 30 points, and then Rick Barry's highlights. Rick's highest scoring NBA game was 64 points. I think that says so. I see a lot of that on the back of the cards. I'm going to grab a few here. And, everybody essentially that I grabbed, the first 5 guys I grabbed, all tells us what their career high in points were. So, pretty cool. Star stats and with a little basketball. All right, all the way down, we talk about trademarks, copyright in 1969 NBPA. Another copyright logo and the letters AND for N, TM, NBA Properties, Inc., and then below all that, copyright 1978, Topps Chewing Gum, Inc., PRTD in the USA. There is one checklist on this set. It is card number 67, kind of right in the middle there. And again, the All-Star designation for the 5 first team and the 5 second team All-Stars. And that's all you get for your subsets. Rookies, I said 18. No errors reported, therefore none corrected. And Furthermore, none uncorrected. So, what's this going to cost you here? So, according to Beckett OPG, we're talking about $25 to $60 for all this stuff for a complete set. TCDB says average of $66.25, which is a little bit more than what Beckett has listed. Commons, 10 to 30 cents. Semi-stars, 20 to 50 cents. Unlisted stars, 30 to 50 cents. 30 to 75 cents, it says. I'm sorry. So let's go to the total value of the cards, according to Beckett OPG, is $307.85 with an average value of $2.33 for the 132 cards. And the top 5 bangers of this guy are the 78-79 Topps number 110, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, $15 to $40. Card number 75 is Bernard King's rookie card, $12 to $30. Card number 80 is Pistol Pete Maravich's, $12 to $30. I just noticed something. And card number 130, Julius Irving, $12 to $30. And the 1970, the 78, card number 78, Dennis Johnson rookie card is $10 to $25. If you're looking on your screen, if you see these little folders that are faded compared to the other ones, that means that I have those cards. So now you guys know what I'm sitting on. Tens of dollars. Rookie cards, top 5, Bernard King again, $12 to $30. Dennis Johnson again, $10 to $25. Walter Davis rookie card, $3 to $8. Cedric Maxwell, $3 to $8. And Marcus Johnson, $1.50 to $4. Will set you back. A lot of Hall of Famers in this thing. I think there was 37 of them. So again, think about that, man. Think about, a quarter to a third of your set, probably a third of your set are Hall of Famers. Of course, Hall of Famers in basketball are a little different than the other sports because you can be in the Naismith Hall of Fame for what you've done in college. There's no pro basketball Hall of Fame as far as I know. It's just the Basketball Hall of Fame in Naismith. So a lot of players there. Most of them got there on their NBA glory, but there are some that not quite measured up as pros. There was an offer amongst, I think, on the side panels of the packs that you can get an NBA team tote bag that I forgot to mention, a Marvel Comics subscription, and the ever-popular Topps Sports Locker, which I call the Card Killer. So you could have sent away for that stuff. I don't know what the information is on that. I apologize, and you're probably not too brokenhearted because the offer probably no longer is valid. So, but it's interesting that Marvel Comics is in there, and a subscription to Marvel Comics. You would think that would be something that discretionary income for most young boys and girls typically didn't allow for both, I would think. Or maybe it's just me being a bit myopic in that the only thing I collected was sports cards. Who knows, right? Another thing about this set that is pretty noteworthy, and I think I mentioned this previously in a podcast, is, again, a lot of these action shots are taken at the Capitol Center in Washington, D.C. I assume a freelance photographer or a team photographer double dipping supplied the Topps Chewing Gum Company with all these photos. A lot of, again, antagonists wearing high shorts of the home uniforms, the home whites of the Washington Bullets back in the day. And also a cool thing I like to look at, I don't know why, I'm not, trust me, I'm not Rex Ryan, but looking at the feet of some of these players, you get to see your Converse sneakers, your Pumas, your Ponies. A couple Nikes showed up. Adidas, of course, the Washington Bullets had, I think, 3 stripes. 2 were blue and 1 were red, I think. So anyway, that's just me being me, I guess. So yeah, I'm sorry I strayed from our show here. So let's talk about, let's head into the judgment zone here, if you don't mind. Good. There's a couple goods here, right? Good. I'm going to show you George the Iceman Gervin. I just love that shot of a high socks, one-handed shot, probably over Wes Unseld at the aforementioned Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, with WTDP Radio 15 clearly advertised in the background, but just a great, classy shot, getting some verts, as we say here in the suburbs, over Wes Unseld. Probably another 2-point basket for the Iceman. And 2 points, right? Again, no 3-pointers, so that's our twos. And the Fros of our episode title come here, the All-Fro team from the 1978-79 NBA Topps basketball. We have ourselves some Artis Gilmore, who could rock the Fro, Dwight Jones, Mike Gale is in there, as is Darnell Hillman. And, of course, finishing out the team, no all-Fro team would be complete without the godfather of Fros, Oscar Gamble. He's our right in the anchor position there, so I don't care what Fro team you're talking about. Oscar Gamble makes the starting lineup. Right? Right. Glad you agree. All right, let's talk a little bit about the bad. Okay, the bad is... man, I don't know what Steve Hawes was thinking from the Hawks and Rich Kelly, but Rich Kelly kind of looks like Borat, and then he looks like they both look like they're completely outmanned, both on the court and in front of a mirror. Rich Kelly looks like one of those like wiggle man fan guys in front of a car wash right there. Of course, calling for the ball, but nobody will pass it for him. And his inset photograph is Borat for sure. Moving on to the bad here, we have Mike Newman and Billy Paltz. Both would appear later on in the Geico Cavemen commercials, extending their career beyond any of their imaginations. So longevity being key. Geico, 15 minutes will save you 15%, I believe. And finally, let's get ugly here. And Rick Barry is your drunk uncle, both in his action shot. This looks like Uncle Rick taking me to the post on the driveway after Thanksgiving dinner. And the inset, of course, is a nice picture. He's probably let a few holes out of his belt right there, and sitting on the lazy boy Barker Lounger. A few drinks in him. That's our Uncle Rick Barry. And then Brian Winters, man, both in his action photo as well as his inset, he looks like, I don't want to say drunk uncle, but maybe a methed out uncle. He's obviously grinding his teeth in his inset pictures, and he looks like he wants to perhaps take on an entire SWAT team in his action photo. So that's the good, the bad, the ugly, and of course the afros. Yes. So headed off to Los Angeles, California tomorrow, and hope to get a side trip into Burbank Sports Cards again. I was there in the fall and spent way too much money. That won't be a problem this year because I've decided to invest in the government, and I'm writing them a check tomorrow and sending that off. So I'm putting my money where my congressional representative is, I guess. So I'm not sure that'll help me, but I won't be buying too many cards. Maybe try to fill out some of those 70s, early 70s sets that I need to knock off. So and one thing I do when I do that is I fill out my hooch. I fill out my checklist, convert it to a PDF, send it to my phone, and then simply just edit it while I'm there with a big strike through the name. Helps me from carrying a list around or memorizing it. Just save my PDF to my files on my phone, and it's always with me and always updated. So whether you use TCDB, whether you use your own setup or Beckett OPG, you can print all that stuff out in PDF form and send it off to your phone, and you have it on your phone. And then that's that. Boy, was that a PSA or what? So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me this week on my journey back in time. I guess it was our journey back in time. If you have a comment or suggestion, or again, want to protest this damn thing, just reach out. ThatSeventiesCardShow at gmail.com, at 70scard on Twitter, or ThatSeventiesCard on YouTube. If you have some set that you want me to discuss or try to wrap my tiny little head around, please feel free to challenge me. I learned a lot about this stuff, so it's fun. That's that. So, again, music, if you're listening on the podcast, is by the late, great Mango Safari. And enjoy your collecting, and more importantly, enjoy your collection. Be safe, be well, and I will talk to everybody very soon. Take care.